Hey everyone, welcome into the MFM Podcast. Dan, joined by Morrow and Michele as usual.
You want to talk about Snow White?
Let's talk about Snow White, that film from my childhood.
When Morrow told me, I was like, what's going on with Snow White? And then I looked and I was like, oh my God. What's in your book of truth,
terrible.
Morrow, about Snow White?
The producer's son had like a tweet that was so spot on, and it's better than I couldn't have said it any better.
I can't wait to hear it because I went
I'll
down the rabbit hole. What's in the book of truth, Morrow?
Thou shalt not take a job on a film as the lead actress and completely destroy the chance of the film making any money.
Yeah.
Okay.
It took me like 30 seconds to figure out what the issue was. Once he told me something was going on with Snow White, I went onto TikTok. I just watched one video of her and I was like, my God. Where she literally said she hates Snow White.
Tell the story.
All right, so quick background is Rachel Zegler or whatever, who stars in Snow White. As soon as they started adapting it, she was saying stuff. She was talking about the prince in the original and how he was a stalker and it was weird.
Yeah, I saw that.
Snow White didn't need to find her true love. She needed to learn how to be a leader. The trailer first dropped. She made a tweet about like, thanks everyone for watching the trailer and always remember Free Palestine. Just unnecessarily.
Her co-star, Gal Gadot,
is Jewish. The head producers on the film hired like a social media guru to try to like monitor her. And then at one point, the lead producer actually flew to New York to sit down with her and asked her like, please, can you...
She had like a video meltdown one that I saw. And she basically said, if you voted for Trump, stop following me. Don't support me.
Don't watch my movie.
Exactly.
Don't watch my movie.
You're going to say to half of the country,
that's just dumb business.
Don't come see my film if you voted for the other guy.
People online were commenting that the producer who flew out to New York to have a talk with her was like, oh, what, you don't believe in the First Amendment for her to say? And this was the response to the producer's son. This is the most spot on thing I've ever heard. So he says, yeah, my dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of $millions on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics in the middle of promoting the movie. She signed a multi-million-dollar contract to star and promote the film, and this is called adult responsibility and accountability. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. That is like, and there's still people being like, this is ridiculous.
No,
how could you
everyone
hear that and not be
hates
like, okay.
So they spent $275 million on the movie, $225 million on publicity. It's a $500 million movie that made $45 million in its opening weekend. There were pictures everywhere of empty theaters.
Yeah.
And I think it made 87 internationally.
I don't care what her beliefs are, but like, what do you do in sabotaging? It's
Snow White. Snow White has an image of Snow White.
Don't take the gig.
She said she hates Snow White.
Yeah.
It used to scare her when she was a child.
She likes millions of dollars, though.
She took the money, to be Snow White, but then she had her own agenda.
Yeah.
Just like our other friend.
And that's selfish.
Yeah, I think her and Blake Lively should be besties.
They're super selfish.
Yeah.
And she said just ridiculous stuff. And she said, oh, there's a male in the movie, but he'll probably end up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that
she
be funny?
just looked like a child in her interviews. They showed like her red carpet clips and she's like, yo.
Yeah.
What was the thing that she said?
Okay, so
what was
there's
the
this
thing
one
that
interview
she
when
said?
she's talking about the prince being a stalker. She's just like so smug. She's like, this movie was originally made in 1937 and obviously so.
Yeah,
like,
I saw it.
And she's like, I mean, he was basically stalking her. A little weird.
I saw that video.
I could just tell, like, this is the type of person I would never want to work with.
Yeah.
Did you see, she also said, I know that all of my fans are going to be in line no matter what.
My fans.
A bunch of dudes remade this movie, like they acted it out, and it was hysterical. The highest comment in there was like, this got more views than the movie.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomato gave them a 29%.
Really?
The critics on Rotten Tomato.
Well, not only her, the dwarf
movie.
thing. Did
Yeah.
you see that? They weren't even real
CGI.
dwarfs. Yeah.
Because originally they cast tall people to play
Because
the
they
dwarves.
didn't want to offend dwarfs.
There's hundreds of dwarf actors in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Peter Dinklage, for the love of
Yeah.
God, and all those other people.
He did something, though.
He was giving them shit. And then they said, okay, well, we don't want to offend you by doing that, so we're going to use CGI.
Why not
dwarves.
just hire dwarves?
They were just like worried so much about offending and making it woke that they just f***ed up the whole movie. That's what I saw.
That's what they call it. Snow woke.
Seriously, no dwarfs and like CGI.
It's like
and
you're
she doesn't
overthinking
clean.
it.
She doesn't clean. So you know how she would normally like cleaned for them and cooked.
Yeah,
She purposely
yeah,
ordered the dwarfs
Yeah,
to clean
she
for her.
goes into the dwarf's house and she orders them around like she is some entitled bougie boss lady.
You overthought it. Like you way overthought this.
I think in general, the whole cancel culture and like being afraid to offend people, you ruined a movie that, is a
so
classic.
unnecessary.
And somebody said it best, I forgot exactly how they said it, but they were saying, that they purposely picked a Latin girl, but that they didn't have to. They keep feeling like they have to change these characters that are classic to just, show diversity when there's ways to show diversity in other ways. Somebody was like, they should have picked the dwarf from Bad Santa.
I mean, we didn't need a new Snow White to begin with. That's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. But we don't need these remakes to begin with.
Well, maybe they learned a lesson, because maybe they won't redo
every single movie.
Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz will be next.
Can you imagine? It'll be a guy as Dorothy next.
I don't think any of us are she has a right to free speech type
It's
thing.
just, but, believe what you want, but don't ram it down an entire nation's throat.
And it's just a child. I mean, if you look at the video, she looks like a child.
She doesn't know what she's talking
about.
Yeah,
the ones who they're right about everything.
Yeah.
She sounds like a brat, like an entitled little brat.
She thinks that she's the star. No, the star is Snow White. I'd never heard of you before you were Snow White.
What is she from anyway?
She was in Spielberg's West Side Story.
That's it? What else?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I never heard of her before.
Yeah. And you know what's even funnier? Originally, the story of Snow White is German. That's where the story came from.
Also just be a team player in your work environment. If you care about your coworkers and your teammate, you don't do that. Free speech or not, be a reasonable person. Even if it's just business sense. She probably herself.
And you know what?
Disney's gonna put her in another tentpole movie? No.
Even worst case, if you're sharing your political views and things like that, there's a way to do it where you're not specifically telling half of the country to not come watch your movie.
For sure.
To unfollow. She said unfollow. Yeah. It was just childish.
Thinking you're invincible and you're bigger than everyone else.
Yeah. And what bad timing, on heels of the Blake thing, too, because everybody that was anti-Blake is right there.
Here's another actress being the same. It's just ridiculous.
And on that note, this has been the MFM Podcast.